I'll start the recording. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to kind of touch on what we had gone over in last month's training session about the free and reduced price meal applications. Unfortunately, in the field, we're doing a lot of reviews now, and we still are having some problems. We're seeing some things that we want to change. So we're going to touch on, we're not going to go over everything in depth. We're just going to hit some high points with these free and reduced price meal applications. We just want to make sure that you guys are as prepared as well as you can be for your upcoming technical assistance visits and reviews. So let's go on. We always start with our non-discrimination statement. Again, we are an equal opportunity provider, and we included is that link to the most recent non-discrimination statement that is out. Enrollment. I just want to make sure that everyone on here knows that every child, every heartbeat in your center that's enrolled, you have to have a free and reduced price meal application for them. This does include infants. It includes any of your drop-ins. It includes full-time, part-time, and your before and after students. There might any students, any enrollment into your center, whether you claim them or not. And this seems to be where a lot of us reviewers are having or seeing things. Whether you're claiming them or not, you do need to have that free and reduced price meal application completed by the parent or the guardian for every child that's enrolled in your center. So again, if you're a Head Start and you're on today, you're going to use your Head Start enrollment form. We have links on here, where to find it on the website. Miss Mary, I see your question. What if the client is NPO? Yes, you still need to have a free and reduced priced meal application for them. Okay. It's going to affect your, you're still, if they're NPO, and I know, Miss Mary, I believe you have, you have some special needs children in there. And I have other centers who have children that are on tube feedings and that receive that. But again, you have a doctor's note for them and they can still be claimed. So you definitely need your free and reduced price meal applications on them, even though they are eating, because they are receiving a formula, a specialty formula that's approved by the physician. So next screen. The free and reduced price meal application for CACFP, that is the eligibility form, okay? And that is your annual enrollment form. So there is some confusion in kid care that you need two forms, but you do not. For the child and adult care food program, for a child or even an adult daycare center, that form, that free and reduced price meal application, that serves as both of those forms. Okay, so when you're filling that out in kid care, you're going to put the enrollment dates and the enrollment expiration date, and you're going to put that IEF expiration date that is all the same form. More than likely, those two dates will be the same. The free and reduced price meal applications, that link, when you get this recording and when you can download the PowerPoint from FitKid's website, probably starting tomorrow, Friday. Here's the link where you can find those, okay? There's also a letter to parents that can be found under the resources tab. And again, you need to provide the forms for every child or adult that's enrolled in the center. Okay. Now on those forms, you're going to need one form, one paper form for each child enrolled, even if they're in the same family. Okay. And Yes, ma'am, Miss Mary, I see your comment that you're feeding her the formula provided for the PEG tube. And I see your comment, Tammy. If you're using e-forms in kid care, there are two electronic forms, but there's only one paper form that satisfies both the enrollment and the eligibility. So thank you for adding that. And we're going to be going over at the end of this presentation today, we're going to be going over the links for annual kid care trainings that you guys can start signing up for. Hold on 1 second. Okay, continuing on. This is the free and reduced price meal application. What I would like for everyone to do is please go after this training today, take a glance at your free and reduced price meal applications. This expiration date that Tammy's highlighting right there, please go through your files, throw away any blank copies of these forms in your filing cabinets, okay? Because unfortunately, a lot of your staff doesn't know. They're thinking they're doing the right thing because they've made a whole bunch of copies to make sure they have the best interest in their heart. So they've made a bunch of copies of these, and please go ahead and ask them if they have stashes of these copies to where they can be replaced with the current year form. We are seeing that a lot of these forms are from 22 or 23, fiscal year 22, 23, because they know it's so important and they've made copies and they know where they have these copies stashed. And so they hand those out thinking that they're doing something really good, but they don't know that they change each year. So please go on the hunt for that. Go on the hunt for those old forms and discard them. So one of the best practices that we've come across is if you're not going to use e-forms in kid care, if you're still going to use the paper forms, is to make a different copy them on a different color of paper every year, so that it is it's highlighted. And it can kind of clue you in that you might not have the right year form. But please do that. So parents will complete these forms on sections 1 through 5, and then you are the center representative. So the bottom of that form that says for official use only, that is what you guys fill out. That is not us. The last 2 centers I've been to, then they were fairly new. They were like, "Oh, we were waiting for you to come and do that." And I was like, "Nope, you guys are the official. Y'all are the official. So you will calculate those and determine whether they are free, reduced, or above, and sign the bottom." You can go. Okay. So free and reduced price meal applications, you can print these up if you're using them on paper. You can input your institution name. You can put your sponsor name or your facility name if that's different. You can type those in. The participant names, if you wanted to type those in, you could. This next yellow highlighted the highlighted area, this is for the CID number. CID stands for case ID number. This is where their food stamp number goes, their 9-digit case ID number. More than likely, it's going to start with 2 zeros, but there are some newer ones that will start with a 1, or they'll start with some other numbers, but it's always 9 digits. Okay. And it goes in that area right there that's highlighted yellow. Please do not let your parents or guardians put their 16-digit credit or debit card number right there. They should not be giving out that 16-digit debit card number. Okay. That should be kept confidential. So what we want right there is that CID number. That number is found on their card below their name, or in some of the newer cards that are coming out, or the replacement cards if they need, if they had to get a replacement card because it's been hacked or they've lost their money, which is happening more and more frequently, unfortunately, these days. Okay. That CID number is again found underneath their name on the card, or it's found on the paperwork that is sent to them with their card. So that's the actual number that we need right there in that yellow highlighted spot. That second line is a FITAP or FDPIR number. And if you wanted to black that out with a marker, and then if you are not an adult daycare only, go to that next line down right there that Tammy's highlighting with her mouse, that SSI or Medicaid number. Everybody seems to want to put the child's Medicaid number in that spot right there. But please don't. That is only for adult daycares. So if you're not an adult daycare and chances are you don't have anybody receiving FITAP or FDPIR, if you wanted to, once you have your original copy of this form, if you wanted to black out those two areas to where the parents cannot write in those spaces, you may do that. And that'll help to clue them in to go with the CID number in the correct space. So the top part 1, with the child's information, part 3, with the expected days of participation, the expected hours, and the expected meal participation. And part 4, where the adults have to, where the parents or guardians have to sign, that has to be filled out by the parent or the guardian. Some of you guys are super computer savvy and you want to put, the nice little X's or the check marks on part 3 for the day, because they're going to be there Monday through Friday. And you're pretty sure of the hours, but you can't pre-fill that out for them. Okay. This form is giving you permission to claim their child in this program. So they are the ones that have to state the days of the week, and their hours of participation and what meals that they're, what they're expected to attend. So please don't do that. Part 5 is optional. That's the ethnic and racial disclosures. Okay, that is optional. If they don't fill this out, they don't have to. But one important thing to mention is that you cannot visually identify a race or ethnicity of these children. And there is a spot in Kid Care that says not identified. You would just check that off. Going back up to part 4, that Social Security number. Right there where Tammy's mouse is. The last 4 digits of their Social Security number, that's imperative that they complete that. Okay. It's just the last 4 digits. We keep these forms confidential. And they have to do that on e-forms as well. Excuse me. And if they do not have a Social Security number, that's fine. They just need to check the box that they don't have a Social Security number. Okay. So, Miss Janet, I see your question, and we're going to get to that right now on this next part. Again, that's what the parent and the guardian must complete. Okay. This is just a review of what it is not. It is the SNAP ID number. It's 9 digits. It's not the 16-digit card number. One other thing is, we don't really see these a whole lot anymore because the pandemic is over. But if they're still trying to give you a card that begins with the number 99, the 2 9s, That was for the pandemic. Okay, and that will not qualify the participant automatically for the free rate. They would have to go ahead and put in and list their income. Okay, so the three instances where the participant would automatically be free, okay, would be a foster child. If they are a foster child and they click yes, right, and if they, check yes, automatically free. If they have a valid CID number, automatically free. And if it's an adult, if you are an adult daycare only, if you're an adult daycare, an SSI or Medicaid number automatically qualifies them as free. So part 2, total household gross income. And Ms. Janet, I'm fixing to answer your question. If they do not want to fill this out, the child is automatically above. Okay. They can put a line across this. They can put refused. They can just scratch it, put an X on it, just put a line over it. They don't have to provide that, and the child is considered to be in the above category. Every member of the household should be listed. Anybody living in that household. And household members are not limited to parents or kids. That could be, it's really any person living in the home and that's in that household unit. Ask them to list all their sources of income. And then when the forms are returned, make sure that the payment schedule is listed. We're seeing, unfortunately, very frequently, we need to know how often that they're paid. Are they making $100 a month, twice a month, every 2 weeks, and $100 weekly? That makes a big difference to where they're free, reduced, or above. And that is very important. And that's where it goes right there where Tammy's, the mouse arrow is. So they need to put, if they're making $2,500, that second space, that's where the $2,500 goes. And right there where our mouse is, that's where their frequency goes. We need to know, is that $2,500 a day, a week, every 2 weeks, twice a month, or monthly, or annually? Okay. Because that can change categories quite a lot. Again, part 3, they have to fill this out. I kind of reviewed this already. Again, that social security number or the check that they do not have a social security number. Optional, ethnicity and race. Again, you are the official. Now, these forms expire 1 year after the date of signature in this section. Okay. So, and it's with Kid Care now, it is a lot easier. Kid Care will track your expiration dates. Okay. That's when you have the little exclamation points in the triangles appear on Kid Care, and it'll tell you how many forms are getting ready to expire. So it is good for 1 year after the date and the signature of the form. Now, the form has to be current within that year. And let me explain what I'm talking about. So right now we're in fiscal year 2025, 2026. Okay. So the forms are good until September 31st, 2025. Okay. So if you are using if you have a child that is new to enroll in your center today, and you hand them a 2022 or 2023 form to use, and you sign it as of today, that date, we're not going to go by that date because you used a form that wasn't current within that fiscal year to begin with. Am I making sense? Okay. And guys, the things that I'm saying, it might not rise. If we're on a review, it might not rise to the level. Thank you, Tammy, for going back to that form. So you're going to want to start off with a current form. And today is March 26th. So if you have a new child or new enrollment to your center today, make sure you're using a 2024-2025 form. And if you sign it March 26th, it is good until March 26th of 26. Okay. It's a current form to begin with, and it's good for a year from the date that you sign it. So make sure that those two conditions are in place. So we've been providing a lot of technical assistance. We've asked a lot of centers to redo and correct forms. So we just wanted to bring this, to the forefront. We want you guys to have this on your radars, to be aware of this. So Ms. Sims, Ms. Angela, is a Head Start still automatically eligible, and can Head Start still use their MasterCard as the application? If you've answered this already, apologize, you came in late. So Head Starts can use their annual enrollment form, and yes, if it's a true Head Start, they would still, this form does not include income eligibility, and all Head Start participants qualify for the free reimbursement rate. So that answers your question for that. Now, this is a true Head Start. This is a Head Start affiliated with a school system. I am aware that in some of our child care centers, they do have early Head Start programs. But it is my understanding from the direction that we've gotten from our state agency that those participants in an early Head Start within a child care center still do have to fill out the free and reduced price meal application. Tammy, is that correct? Is that your understanding as well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So again, just to clarify, a true Head Start affiliated with a school system and mainly on a school system campus, that would use the your Head Start applications. If you're running early Head Start programs in a child care center, they still use the free and reduced priced meal applications. You are a Head Start program that includes early Head Start. So yes, it sounds like you guys are affiliated with a direct school system, and you do have the early Head Start. So that would be the Head Start applications, because they're going to meet, you'll be included in the Head Start program, and you'll be following and fall under Head Start, Head Start guidelines. So continuing on, determining the eligibility. Again, now this form runs from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of 2025. There is actually this past week, USDA did publish the next income form, which runs from July 1 of 2025 through June 30th of 2026. So be aware of that. We'll probably be sending that out through email as well, just so you guys have that. So any new participants that enroll on July 1st, 2025 or after, you're going to use that new form that the feds just put out. So in that chart, you guys know you're going to go by household size, and you're going to calculate yearly, monthly, twice. You're going to calculate what their annual income is, and you're just going to follow the category down to find out whether they fall in the free or reduced or above categories. We really are seeing less and less of of calculation errors. So that is a great thing. You guys are on point with that. So here's the deal. What if you never get the form back? Okay, we are having a lot of these issues. Please tell your parents that There is no getting around these forms, that they will be filling them out every year while their child goes to any type of school until they graduate high school, because this is how school systems and this is how you get reimbursement. Okay. So they're going to have to fill them out. There's just no way around it. And they're going to do it until the child graduates high school. Some of the best practices are we have a lot of centers that will stand at the door and have the parents fill them out right there, because we understand. And I'm a mom, have kids. I can't say that all the forms that were sent home with my children made it back to school. Okay. That can be a risky, adventure right there. So if you meet them at the door and you help them fill it out right there, that tends to be a best practice. So if they refuse, again, have them draw a line through it, and they're going to be above and paid. Have them fill out the rest of the form to where they're giving you permission to claim, and they're stating that when the child will come. So no income. It is very, very, very rare for a household to truly have no income. We're seeing this creep up and up and up more, that they don't want to disclose. They just quickly check that they don't have any income. That is very highly unlikely. Most of the time when we see this, and we'll ask you guys, as center directors and owners and everything, we'll ask, well, who do they live with? A lot of times that maybe they are in a shelter. They truly have no income. We totally understand that. Or they're displaced. But a lot of times it might be the daughter and the child living with the parents, or the daughter does not have a job. She's in college. Or, the daddy might not have a job. She's in college. Okay. But again, that's why it says household. So they would need to include any income that's coming into that house where they live. So if you miscalculate and you determine the wrong category, hey, mistakes happen. We understand. You will just have them update the form, initial the changes, or say, for instance, they have a change in their income. Okay. You guys know your parents, and it's wonderful. If mom has another baby, that adds a member to the household. That could very well take a child from being above. It could take them down a category. Unfortunately, if mom or dad loses their job, that changes their income status. You have them fill out another form. You staple it to the real form. The dates change, and you change the category of that child. Okay, that could increase your reimbursement. Because if they have any of these qualifying changes, they need to receive those benefits, and so do you. Okay, Michelle, thank you so much. So the new standards of eligibility that start in July 1 of 2025, that's not going to be emailed, but it will be posted on the website in June. And I will give, when it comes time for June's training, I will have that link for you guys to where it'll take you there.
I believe this year we're also going to try to move our form to the July to June to stay, rather than have two different sets of categories for one form with us. I think we're going to move our annual form to July to update with the income changes.
Awesome. Okay, you guys are first to know right here that our state free and reduced price meal application, the dates will change to match the July 1 through June 30th. That
does not mean that you're going to have to get all new forms in July. The ones you have on file are still good for their year.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yes. Okay, but that's when you're going to want to throw away the old copies and find out where everybody has stashed old copies of those free and reduced price meal applications. Throw those out and replace them with the new copy. So continuing on, what if your parents refuse to put the last four of their social security number? Eligibility that makes them above or paid, okay, for any form that is incomplete. If you're on paper forms, no, you can't include this. You have to have forms for each child enrolled. And if they list a CID number that is not 9 digits, ask them. See if you can get a copy of that. They're probably just misunderstanding. If you can't verify that CID number is valid, have them put their income as well. Okay. Because 9 times out of 10, that income will qualify them as in the free category, and that's going to save you some time. Again, reminders, 1 year. We've already touched on USDA and LDOE, the updates to those forms, and that is the link of where you can find those forms. Okay, let's touch on some USDA meal pattern updates. This came out a couple weeks ago from USDA. This is a direct screenshot from the USDA training that they held for all state agencies. The final rule, this final rule updates the total sugar limits for breakfast cereals and yogurts to added sugars. Okay. I know in our pre-approval packets and in our handouts, we've gone over, a lot of people have those neat little, the neat little, categories, the forms that'll tell you what are the sugar limits. Okay. And we were going by total sugars. As of October of this year, October 1 or 2025, breakfast cereals and yogurts that is going to be categorized by the added sugars column, not the total sugars. Okay. So this is going to give you a little bit more leeway in the cereals and the yogurts that you're allowed to serve. Okay. So it's not going to be, again, total sugars. It's going to be the added sugars in these products. So that's going to help out a lot of you guys. And again, that starts on October 1st. Whole grains. These next updates are basically just clarifications and wording changes. So for whole grains, this adds the current definition of whole grain rich to regulations for school meal programs and for CACFP. And when you see the term whole grain rich, that term is defined by USDA FNS to indicate that the grain content of the product is between 50 and 100% whole grain, with any remaining grains being enriched. Okay, so it's going to clarify things a little bit, and it really, I really think the intent of this is to give a lot of these manufacturers guidance on what they can label as whole grain rich. So that's going to be something to look for. It maintains the current requirement that at least 80% of the weekly grains. Now, this is in school lunch and school breakfast. Okay, so that is not us. Nuts and seeds. So this is going to allow nuts and seeds to credit for the full meat or meat alternates in child nutrition programs. Previously, it was 50% limit for nuts and seeds at breakfast, lunch, and supper.
We're still going to defer to licensing as to which ones should or shouldn't be served in a setting.
Yep. Good point. Very good point. Just because we will follow the more strict regulations for our state. So if licensing doesn't allow nuts, okay, then you're not allowed to serve nuts. Okay. If you are somewhere And if you serve a nut or a nut butter, just be aware that it doesn't, it's increased to 100% limit on that. Basically, if I want you guys to know the regulations, I want you to know technically what is allowed by USDA. However, if you're not serving that now because of allergy issues or licensing says no for particular age groups, then continue that. Beans, peas, and lentils. This is just a terminology change, okay? It used to be called legumes, the legume group, okay, which meant beans and peas. All they did was change, they just started calling it beans, peas, and lentils, so they're going to update all of their educational materials. So this one's just really an FYI. So, upcoming kid care classes. These are the webinar registration link for multi-site centers and independent centers. Okay. When you get, and I believe, Michelle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we're gonna be emailing these out. So you'll know it. So the webinar registration link for sponsored centers, and that is if you have more than one facility. Okay. You're going to click on that link and you're going to register for the multi-site center training. Okay. Tammy, can you go ahead and click on that link? I think it should work. Let's push the limits with the internet gremlins. Because I was going to go to it and show you it is going to work. So when you get the copy of this, now it might take a minute or two, and we have plenty time left in today's training. I want you guys to see the screen that it's going to take you to. Here we go. So there's an annual Louisiana Kid Care training, and there is a specific eForms training. Okay, you can click on that, select all upcoming webinars, and register. Name, first name, last name, and your email address. If you want more, more than one person at your sponsor at your site to take it, then register everybody or have them register, forward this link to them. Okay. But just make sure that you are registering. If you're a single site center and you only have one site, then you're going to use the next link. Make sure you're registering for the correct training. And you will get a link just like we use for these trainings. You're going to get a link that is specific to you. Okay. So if you want 25 people at your center to take these trainings, have them all register with their own individual names and email addresses, and everybody's going to be good. That second link right there, that's the webinar registration link for independent centers, and that's for single site centers only. It's going to look about the same as the other one that we just clicked on. So register for that annual update training and for the eForms training. I got to tell you, there are more and more centers that are using eForms, and they really like it. It saves a whole lot of time for you guys. So I highly recommend that you guys go through that training and see if it's going to be a good move for you, because there's a lot of people throughout the state that are really, really, really enjoying it now. And using this, but we want to make sure that everybody goes to the annual trainings. Now, if you're a single site center, but you have a multi-site account, again, use that first link. Okay. And if you are a single site, but you have a multi-site account, trust me, you know who you are. Okay. So if there's any question and you don't think you have that, again, you register for the single site centers, but you guys know if you are using a multi-site account. this is going to bring us to the end of today's training. I see some questions. Let's see, Miss Haley, will we get a list of the new list we can have when it's time? Haley, I am very confused by your question. Okay, and Michelle, I see that those emails, the emails to register for the training might be coming from KidCare, you guys. So heads up, it might not be coming from our state office. It might be coming from KidCare. Please be on the lookout for that. So keep an eye on your emails, your main email that you've put on your sponsor application with us. That's the emails that it's going to be going to. Every once in a while, glance in your junk or your spam folders just to make sure you're not missing something important. As usual, I do not see, I think I've gotten to all of the questions. If you still have a question or if I have missed your question, I apologize. Please retype it in the chat section. And I will be happy to take my best shot at answering your question. As usual, after today's training, you will be receiving, once it's posted on FitKids website, you will be receiving an email so you can go and pull down this training along with you can print out the PDF of this PowerPoint to have. Within the next, probably by Friday, if you've registered with a separate email address and you've attended at least 45 minutes of this 1-hour presentation, expect to receive your email that documents your clock hours for this training. Ms. Tabitha, I see your question. Can you access CN labels via KidCare? You cannot. There is a website. USDA has a website, has a link on their website where you can access all of the CN labels or product formulation statements for any. Tammy, you are so awesome. Look at the CN labeling program. Ms. Tabitha, look at your screen because Tammy is on the ball. She has copied that link for you, and I bet she is about to put it in the chat. There it is. That's where you find any CN labels for your products. And in KidCare, those items begin with CN when you're adding them to your menus. And make sure that you do have a true CN label. Because products that you're purchasing from Walmart, from Sam's, from Costco, all of those products are very unlikely to have a CN label. If you're getting them from vendors, if you're getting them from a vendor that delivers to your center, and they also serve schools, then thank you, Tammy. You are my hero. Then it's more than likely they will have a CN label. Just make sure they don't substitute those products. Okay, guys, if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recordings. I'll hang on here for another 5 minutes or so, but we're going to give you 5 minutes back to go enjoy your day. And thank you so much for attending.